Hey guys, welcome back to my channel SAP with IK. Hope you're all doing good. So in today's topic, we'll be discussing on the major differences between a process order and a production order. So in this slide, I've actually incorporated few major differences between a process order and a production order based on my observation and my learning. So if you find something else that should be added, please do mention it in the comment section. So the first one is basically the process order is used in the process manufacturing industries, let's say the pharmaceutical industry, or it may be a life science industry, or it could be a chemical based industry, or maybe an FMCG or the food industry, and so on. And when coming to the production order, this is mainly used in the discrete manufacturing processes, such as the automobile industry or maybe a machinery manufacturing industry, or the tools, the doors and windows, the castings, or maybe a foundry and other mill products kind of industries, right? So depending on the nature of the client, in which business line they are into this. So basically, the consultant has to take a call whether he should configure the process order or should he go with a production order. So typically, in case of a pharmaceutical or maybe a chemical industry, we go with the process orders because we do have several advantages by using the process orders, such as the uh, creation of the PI sheets and also the material quantity calculations. And if the customer is basically into the FDA and they follow the 21 CFR Part 11 norms, then we should also supply them with the functionalities of the electronic batch recording. So few changes that we see here are not available in the production orders, and we'll discuss in detail once we go through the next point. And then when we talk about the batch determination, the batch derivation, and the batch management, so this is quietly possible in both these scenarios, in both the process order and also the production order. And then coming to the operations or the phases, right? So the manufacturing sequences, in case of a process order, we will see it as in a phase, and when it comes to a production order, we see them as an operation. So why? Because in the process order, since it goes in a particular process, like we cannot keep on manufacturing the chemical or maybe the pharma drug, right, in two or three different operations. So for that reason, we just dump all the raw materials into a reactor or maybe a compounding machine, and that's where the blending process actually takes place. So there we typically use a reactor, right? So for that reason, we are not going to define operations in the process order, but we create them as a phase. And then the PI sheet that we create in the process order will be based on the phases that we have defined in the manufacturing process. But whereas in the production order, we will be following a set of operations in a sequential manner. So let's say if we are talking about the machinery manufacturing, so the first one could be a cutting operation, and the second one could be a drilling operation, and the third one could be a painting operation. So these three activities will be carried out in a three different work centers or three different production lines. So that's the reason we basically create operations in the production order and not phases. And also in the production order, we do not have, I mean, based on its design, we do not have the flexibility to create a phase in a production order, right? And then coming to the printing of the shop floor papers. So this is quite possible in both these orders, the process order and the production order. And then we have the PI sheet or the process instruction sheets. So in the SAP S4HANA, this has been simplified with the execution steps, or also called as the X steps, right? So we'll discuss about this in more detail in a different topic. So these execution steps or the PI sheet, they hold the complete set of instructions that are to be followed by the shop floor person while executing a process order or while manufacturing a particular batch. So in the PI sheet, we basically define the set of operations and also the instructions that the employee or the shop floor supervisor or the manufacturing person, so he should be aware of that he should follow a set of guidelines while processing or executing a particular batch, right? So that kind of instructions will be provided in the PI sheets. And not only instructions, we can also assign the digital signatures, and we also can execute apply the functionalities of the goods issues, the goods receipts, confirmations, so on and so forth. So it depends on what characteristics are we basically assigning in this particular phase to get it displayed in the PI sheet. And when coming to the production order, the PI sheet is completely not possible at all, right? And then coming to the master data, in a process manufacturing industry, we will basically have the bill of material, which is common across both these industries, the process and the process manufacturing and the discrete manufacturing. And then in place of routing, where we see this in the production order or the discrete manufacturing. So in process manufacturing, we will have it as a master recipe. So here it is master recipe, and in discrete manufacturing, it is routing. And the work centers or the machines that are basically used in the manufacturing process, so they are called as a resource in the process manufacturing, and whereas in the discrete manufacturing, they are called as a work center. Okay, so the transactions for the master recipe, resource, and the routing and the work center are completely different. And after that, we have the production version, which is again common across these two manufacturing segments. And then this next point is with the integration with manufacturing execution systems or the MES systems. So it is quite possible with these two orders, the process orders and the production orders as well. And the next feature we have here is the material quantity calculation. So the MQC is basically feasible in the process order, and it's a standard functionality. But whereas in the production order, we will not have the functionality of the material quantity calculation. Why? Because the MQC, it basically works on the determination of a component quantity based on the characteristics of a particular batch. So this is quite important when we are into the pharmaceutical or the chemical or maybe the life science industry, right? And then we have electronic batch recording. So the EBR, this is possible in process order, but not possible in the production order. So the EBR, it basically holds, a complete set of characteristics or maybe a set of documents that are applied while manufacturing a particular batch. So let's say we are manufacturing batch A in a process order, right? So to manufacture batch A, what is the process order we have created, and what are the list of components we have consumed, and what are the actual batches we have consumed for these components, and from where did we procure these batches, and what is the inspection lot generated for the in process and the goods receipt inspection lots, and what are the inspection characteristics. So that kind of a detailed analysis or a drill down report will be available in the single transaction electronic batch recording, where we use the transaction COEBR. And then coming to the serial numbers. So the serial numbers here in the process order, it is not possible, but whereas in the discrete manufacturing, this is possible. But in case you would like to have the functionality of a serial number in a process order, wherein which, let's say you are manufacturing a vial. Okay, so you are just creating one process order for the total quantity of 10 vials, and it would hold a batch number A. So we are manufacturing 10 pieces in a single batch, and each vial should have its own serial number, right? So let's say like vial 1, V1, V2, V3, so on to V10. So those vials can be created as a serial number, but in standard this is not supported, and we have to go with an customized solution to create serial numbers against a particular batch or a process order. So now let's get into SAP and see the differences between a process order and a production order. Okay, so here we are in SAP, and this is the change mode of a process order. So in the process order, as you can see, we do have the icon for the control recipes. So this icon is not observed in the production order, and we do need this control recipe to basically create a PI sheet or an X-step PI sheet. Okay, and then if we go to the goods receipt tab, there we could see the icon for the batch derivation and also the creation of a batch in the process order. But in case of a production order, we still have those two options to perform a batch derivation and also to execute the creation of a particular batch. And if you are interested to know about the creation of the batch or maybe the batch determination process and also the batch derivation, so I've already created a specific video on this particular topic, and you can watch it from the playlist available on the channel. And then if we go to the operations view of the production order, we can see that we have these operations defined over here. But whereas if you go into the process order, the operation screen, we will always have a particular phase. So when we go with the confirmation process of a process or order in COR6 and transaction, so the operation number that we are going to assign there will be the phase. So whichever activity number has been assigned as a phase, so for that particular activity we are going to perform the confirmation process, but not the operation, right? And then if we go to the materials, so we will not have any difference with the materials or the component view here. And if I go to the header again, so we'll take a look at the master data. So here we have the master recipe, right? And whereas if I go to the production order, we will have it as a routing, right? And the bill of material, it will be the same. We have the same master data. So we have the BOM. And then if I go into the details of the operations or the phase, so here this is my resource, right? But whereas if we go into the production order, we will see it as a work center. But there is no difference in the production version. That will remain the same. So the production version is no different in this case. The only thing is that if we go into the material master, we are going to assign this routing as the task list type with N in the production version. Let me show that. Okay, not this one. Okay. So as you can see here in the production version for the master recipe, we are choosing the task list type as 2 for the master recipe, and then we are going to assign the group number of the master recipe. But in case of discrete manufacturing, we are going to use the task list type as N as routing. That is where system is going to understand that this is a routing and this is a master recipe. And now coming to the PI sheet. So this is a transaction CO60 where we find the PI sheet. So in the PI sheet, in case of a process order, we are going to create the process instructions, and those process instructions can be assigned to each of the phases. So it depends on the customer requirement again, like what all features they basically need. So let's say they would like to know the complete details of the product they are manufacturing. So the details of the finished product or the product that they are manufacturing, that can be shown in this particular PI sheet by pulling out the information from the corresponding process order. So we can show the information of the material, the batch, and also the phase through which the manufacturing is being processed. And then we can have a table where they can see the list of components that they have to consume during the manufacturing process. And you also can assign a separate column, as you can see here in this particular table. You also can assign a digital signature. So once you sign that particular step, it means that the component has been consumed upon saving the PI sheet. And the same way, you can also assign the goods receipt process as well. And then the quality inspection. So this is not actually completely linked. So that's the reason you are actually seeing no data in this here. And also you can have a kind of an instruction saying that if the inspection is completed or not, and if it is a yes or no, and what is the status of that particular batch, and who has actually checked this particular QC part, so they can perform his signature in this particular step. So once they click on save in the PI sheet, then the process messages will be sent back to the process order, updating all the information that has been entered in the PI sheet. And the next one here is on the EBR, that is something, and let's also discuss on the MQC. So now if I go into the process order again, sorry, in the materials view, you can actually see this icon to perform the material quantity calculation. So if you click on this, and the material quantity calculation, it basically happens for all the components that we have assigned, and there are a set of formulas that we will have to follow, and we're going to discuss that in a separate video. So based on the characteristic values, so as you can see here, these are the characteristic values for the components that we assigned in the BOM, and the required quantity. So based on the characteristic values, the required quantity of each component will be calculated automatically by the system, and that depends on the formulas on how we have assigned in the master data, I mean to say the master recipe. But if I go into the production order, so you will not find the icon to perform a material quantity calculation, right? And that is one difference. And then if I go to the COEBR for the batch manufacturing record, so here in this transaction, we will have to provide the details of the batch, the material, and also the plant. And this basically shows us, the batch record that has been created. So let me try to execute this without providing any options here, so that we can see what all options, I mean, what all records we have. So we do see two records in the plant 3100, and these two are the finished products, and we do have this batch. So if I just go into the details of this particular batch, yeah. So if I expand the list under this batch 152, and let's minimize this. So yeah, under this batch, we have the batch record version as 0. And then under that version, we have the SAP objects assigned. So right now we only have the process orders. I mean, that's the hierarchy. And under the process order, we have the process order number and then the PI sheet. So this PI sheet will be having the set of operations that are to be carried out in the manufacturing process. Okay, so the number that you see here with the 1 series ending with 1143, this is the control recipe number for each of these phases. And below that, we also can see the inspection lots that are associated with this process order. So right now we only have one inspection lot, and then we have the material list, where you can see, in this particular screen, the list of components, the PH202 and PH203. These two are the components that are planned for consumption. And then the process messages. So these process messages, these are basically used, to send the messages from the process order to the PI sheet, and the other way, from the PI sheet to the process orders. Right. So that is how the electronic batch recording basically works. And then coming to the serial numbers. So let's go into the production order. So here in the header, we do see the option of a serial number, where we can assign the serial numbers based on the quantity that we are manufacturing in this production order. So these are basically the major observations that I did when comparing with the process order and the production order, and also its usage. And I hope this is helpful for you to determine, based on your requirement, whether to go with the implementation of a process order or go with the production order setup. And please do make sure that while discussing with your customers or the counterparts, so try to understand what kind of a business are they into. Are they part of the pharmaceutical, the chemical, food, life science, and so on, or maybe a different industry which basically follows the process manufacturing? Okay, so only then you have to go with or think about implementing the process orders. And if not, if they are into the automobile or maybe a discrete industries that I have mentioned here, so if they are part of these industries, then you can decide to go with the production order, and make sure that you are leveraging the complete functionalities that we have available. I mean, that SAP has made available basically in these two orders, the process order and the production order.